Cool. And we're live across the LunarCRUSH YouTube and Periscope, Twitter, Facebook. Hello, everyone. We got 3 people in already. Joe Vizzani here, CEO of LunarCRUSH. Today we're going to be talking social media. We got some special guests here from across the world. From Zilliqa, we've got Colin and we've got Milan. Working on marketing and growth here at Zilliqa. And then also we got John Farjo, co-founder and chief product officer of LunarCRUSH. Today we're going to talk a little bit about crypto. We're also going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about growth. We're going to kind of bounce around a little bit, but we want to talk about influencers, and we wanted to talk about what makes a good influencer, what is growth in crypto, how it's different. And so we're just going to have a fun conversation. I know, Colin, if you want to introduce yourself real quick. I know it's almost midnight over there in Singapore where you're at, and then Milan, you're out in the Netherlands. So you guys want to do just a quick intro to what you're working on and what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks. I'm head of marketing at Zilliqa. We're having offices all around the world. Obviously, I'm in Singapore. Milan's there in Holland. But, we've focused a lot on social media. And literally from week 1, I was looking at LunarCRUSH as my main point of focus, particularly because social media is such a critical part of what we do at Zilliqa and how we communicate our message. So it's been great to talk with you guys, work with you guys, watch you guys, and really immerse ourselves deeply into crypto Twitter, especially in the last 4 or 5 months. So look forward to talking through some of those things with you now.
Yeah, awesome.
It's great.
Awesome.
So I'll give a little bit of a background about me. I'm Milan, and I'm in the marketing team of Zilliqa. I've been working for Zilliqa for almost a year now. Most of the things I do are related to influencers, social media, marketing, community management. So on a day-to-day basis, I deal and talk to a lot of different influencers in the industry and set up strategic partnerships and try to kind of grow together and find synergies there.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to digging into it with you guys.
Great. Well,
John, take it away, my man.
All right, I'll do that. I want to talk about Zilliqa, but I want to back up a little bit and talk a little bit about, since it's Follow Friday after all, want to talk about influencers today and how we calculate influencers. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go back to, I think, Joe, you may need to switch my screen on if it's not on already.
It's on now.
Perfect. So we're looking at our markets page on lunarcrush.com right now. And, on a lot of these different sites out there, you're going to see the coins sorted typically by market cap. And so right now I've got my markets page filtered by market cap, and I'm going to get my usual suspects from top to bottom. We have some other unique ways of sorting these coins and filtering these out. So if I sorted by social volume, for example, you're going to see a bit of a different rank. And what's most fascinating this week, obviously, is Dogecoin. Why on earth is Dogecoin just behind Ethereum? It was actually just above Ethereum for the last few days. And at one point, it was almost tied with Bitcoin for the number of social mentions at one point within an hourly time frame. So what we do is we let users sort by these unique metrics. We can see Zilliqa's number 11 on there. And so, this is current 24 hours. I could also say, let me look at deeper engagement and look at, these are things like social engagement is things like retweets and comments. If we're talking about Reddit, it's things like upvotes, and we're looking at karma of the different users, and we're looking at, is there a deeper level of interaction going on versus just a lot of top level posts with nothing going on? And so that's another nice way of looking at different levels of interaction. Again, since we're talking Zilliqa a little bit here, we could see it's number 17. So let's dive into that and talk about, we'll eventually get to influencers. This does relate. I want to talk about volume. So if we're looking at 1 week, we can see that on that 1 week, there's been 15,161 post mentions. But when we go back, we'll see some enormous spikes in here. And I definitely want to talk about these spikes in just a moment, but we see that there's been 371,452 post mentions over the last 3 months. That is a lot. And that's a huge increase, especially if you go backwards even like 6 months. And you see that the traffic, even down here, we're 2762 yesterday, but you go back 6 months ago, it was only 191. So we're talking enormous growth that's gone on. And what this means is it's every time that someone on crypto Twitter, on Reddit, on other channels in the news is mentioning a ticker, a hashtag, the word Zilliqa, really just any sort of element that represents Zilliqa. And so when we look at that, it's a lot of different posts that we're collecting. But to break that down, there's influencers that are doing these posts. And so we look at these influencers over time. And I should also add, we track the individual contributors. So if we're looking over the last 6 months, we have 2,082 different contributors right here, that happened yesterday. But the most popular out of these contributors are here, these influencers. And so we look at these influencers in a very objective way. And the term social influencer is thrown around widely and very wildly. And there's a lot of projects we talk to that hire a lot of really popular influencers. But when we look at things objectively within our data, some of those individuals may have been influential during certain periods of time, but they may not be influential right now for a specific coin. And so there's people that are maybe more generally influential in the space, not to call any specific names, but there are people that put in constant, continual, ongoing hard work. And let's talk about what we look at with that. So we rank influencers, there's really 4 factors. And so right now we're looking at the coin. So in fact, let's back out of that even. If I back out of influencers, I'm just gonna come out of here. And I'm gonna click influencers.
Now you got me wondering what those 2 spikes were. I want to hear it directly from the guys.
Oh yes, yes. Do you guys want to chat about that right now? Those big spikes?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a 1-2 combination. We have something called social pay, which is an incentivization platform which rewards people for forwarding, retweeting tweets with a specific hashtag. In this case, the first one was Zilliqa. They had to get 5 likes on that tweet, and then they would be rewarded with Zil. And this caused a dramatic near vertical spike in take-up, which was quite exciting to see. I think we were watching LunarCRUSH every minute for 72 hours straight, just to see what was happening, because the spike was so huge. And we absolutely were excited by that and see the power of social pay and social incentivization. And then we followed that up later with a secondary campaign, which we can talk about, which was a CSR campaign.
And how did you see that original campaign? Was it, were there influencers involved? Did you guys just kind of drop it out there to a couple of people and see kind of how that, infiltrated Twitter, or, how did you launch that originally?
Again, it was a combination. We weren't too sure quite what the response would be, so we thought we would recruit influencers, and Milan picked some of the best ones.
Yeah, we did. For the first campaign only, we did contact 2 or 3 influencers just to see, what they thought about it and use the tool in a sense. But I think even if we didn't use influencers, the network effect would organically still happen, which we also saw with the second campaign, basically. So I think intrinsically with the product itself, it just allows for strong network effects, with or without an extra boost of influencers, which would obviously also help, but wouldn't be necessary in itself.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's go ahead, John. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm curious because, it happened. We started seeing, I remember way back in here when, your price was way, way lower. And we started seeing social activity going pretty good right here. We were posting back in March. And I guess I'm curious, how much do you attribute these campaigns towards this dramatic rise in price? And I can objectively get it by looking at our correlation rate, but I'm just curious, how much does your team attribute social pay towards that rise in price, or do you look at a lot of other things that are driving that?
I think personally, it's not just social pay. I'm very convinced of that because we planted a lot of different seeds when it comes to marketing, positioning, community management, and sometimes you do things like 3-4 months before, but you don't see the benefits right away, but they kind of build up in the background. And then once you get out of your own social media bubble, once you hit that point, it just skyrockets, as you said. And the whole idea and our strategy was to get outside of the echo chamber where the same people kind of talk about you, retweet. And after heavy bear market, this was difficult. But by keep pushing from different angles, planting different seeds everywhere, work with different people, and eventually, once you break through, you break through hard. And social pay was also one of those key instruments to do that. But even without that, we would, I think, skyrocket, in my opinion.
Fantastic. That's great. That's something we talk about a lot, just, breaking out of your bubble, stop talking to the same individuals constantly. So it is really interesting to hear that that's part of your marketing strategy, and you guys are very cognizant of that. Do you guys have a lot of other efforts that you put into place to kind of expand your reach and kind of move beyond what you've been doing?
Well, the Twitter part is really interesting for me because a few years ago, I thought to myself, crypto Twitter is the most interesting part of Twitter. That was probably just before Trump came on the scene, but it really seemed the most interesting thing that was happening. And when I got the chance to work with Zilliqa and look at how people interact on crypto Twitter, I realized we were missing a trick because there was nothing more than broadcast taking place. We would literally send a flat tweet and that would be it, an update, and it would disappear. So I asked the team if it was okay to humanize Twitter. So that includes putting your initials on each tweet so people know who's talking. So effectively, we become a more interactive voice, or 4 voices in this case, actually 5. And people can refer to the website and see what we look like and see that we are human beings and we're trying to impart information in an interesting way. And it's created another dimension, another level of personalization, I suppose. And people can quite easily talk with us on Twitter, interact with us on Twitter. And we try and answer as much as possible on there. But people know that it's us as humans talking rather than as official broadcasters for the company.
And is that, so that those initials, is that on your main account? And then you've got a couple of people that are working that main account. And then when they post an opinion or they post an update, they put who they are, and that's tied back to the website that has that person's information and name, and they can communicate with them?
Yep, that's exactly right. And I kind of set a number as a KPI, in fact, of doing 4 tweets a day because there were 4 people doing the Twitter account. And we've more or less held that up for that time. So we're on track with that. And I think the volumetrics have gone with that, just that regular percussive communication.
Yeah, that you talk about frequency a little bit there of how often you post. And I had someone the other day ask me, about Instagram and a couple other things. And I think that there used to be kind of like rules, right? Like you only post once a day on Instagram, and maybe you post a couple of days, and what's the best practices. And now that I'm thinking about crypto Twitter and how fast everything's going, and especially today where everyone's just thumbing through their feeds constantly, it's like, I don't know if there's a frequency cap on Twitter anymore. I feel like you could post 50 times a day, and it's because people aren't actually going to your profile. Really, they're just seeing what's coming through their feed. And if you don't have the latest thing up, or it's not getting engagement, you're going to be kind of left in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, we know exactly when our peak time is, and that's because more than half of our audience is stateside. So really, late night Singapore now is the right time to be talking to America. A little easier for Milan there in Europe, but it's the best time to be talking on Twitter, and especially on Telegram is right now for us.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out, if my screen's still up, is this here is, I'm back on the markets page, and this is focused on this is average hourly social contributors, and so when we look at this, once you get past the top coins, when you get further down, and sure, there's spikes on certain days, but you're talking about a very low number, 10, 11, 12 people, and you've heard of these projects, a lot of these projects. I'm certainly not picking on them for not having a lot of volume, because we're still in the top 100. And so when you think about frequency, it becomes a very interesting metric when you look at the actual number of people that are focused on any particular coin. It is way less than most people think at any given time. I mean, for example, if there was, call it 100,000 people that are interested in XRP, and then there's a certain number of those individuals that are even online at any given time, and then there's a certain number of individuals that are even reading XRP posts, and then there's a smaller amount that are actually posting and a smaller amount that are engaging. And so it's just kind of like it whittles down to a very small number of individuals that are actually posting, and it's not the complete size of that community necessarily, as much as it is those are the people that are actually contributing content. And you tend to see this a lot more on Reddit. There's a lot of browsing that goes on. You might see more comments, way more comments than you see top level posts, because it's harder to do a top level post. And so it's interesting when you say, Joe, that you really can't post too much. It's actually true at this point. Because then there's time of day when those few people are actually posting and viewing that information for that coin. So interesting comment.
For sure. Yeah, no, crypto Twitter, it's the same. It's similar to Reddit, where I think it's about, I'm sure there's more contributors on Twitter than there are Reddit, but the last kind of stat that I saw was only about 15% of the people on Reddit are actually contributing. And most of those people are still viewing. And so even if you do have a low, contribution amount of people that are posting about something, you do still have a lot of viewership. And something like Reddit, which has, I think it's like the average on-site time for Reddit is like 12 to 16 minutes. It's almost like a 3 to 4x what people are seeing on something like an Instagram, or Facebook. And then Twitter has like the short bursts, but lots of short bursts across the day where people are kind of rechecking and getting back on, and they're trying to kind of get that new content. And so, you have to kind of keep posting and keep that frequency up.
And, in addition, people don't even, a lot of people, they don't know who to follow. And so, if someone were interested in Zilliqa, and that might be one small subset of the hundreds of people that they're following. And so it's even more cluttered with lots of other things other than what Zilliqa is posting. So, right. And then there's a relevance factor and all that stuff that comes into play. So there's a lot of different things. So yeah, I mean, we're seeing some of the top influencers that are actually posting, believe it or not, up to 35 times a day. And it's not spam. It's actual posts. So some people don't think they see, or they have a team of 10. I don't know. But very active.
Well, cool. Did we talk about the second spike here, guys? Or did we talk? You said social pay for the first one.
Yeah, the second spike is interesting because we ran a COVID Heroes campaign in association with the Singapore Red Cross, with a couple of key elements, one of which was corporate match donation. So for the incentive that the individual got for promoting that campaign, we matched that and gave it to the Singapore Red Cross for their COVID campaign. We had a specific budget for that, a corporate budget, CSR from Zilliqa, and we actually marched through it a lot quicker than we thought. So the campaign was supposed to be over 2 days, but in the end, it was already done in 24 hours. So that was a roughly 13 million, I think, we recorded social engagements on LunarCRUSH in that 24-hour period. So it showed a very interesting volumetric for us, because it had lots of benefits from a branding point of view, but also that people were getting so used to the mechanism that it was just driving much faster the transaction and the consumption of the Zil budget.
Wow. So these were just 2 campaigns. You put Social Pay live and then you take it down. And are there other campaigns in the future? And I guess, how do you see this playing out in the future?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, because other versions of Twitter tipping and incentivization exist. CoinKit has one, which is interesting, and they have multiple coins allied to that. We also see competitive blockchains literally doing exactly the same thing as Social Pay, and getting some benefit from that based on the stats we saw on LunarCRUSH as well. But we keep evolving, we keep iterating, we keep adding new features. There's a huge number of things we can do with the Social Pay logic. It's highly disruptive because it generates peer-to-peer engagement on a scale which is even bigger than you can actually buy from pure impressions. So I feel that we've got something massively accelerated here, something we can apply to multiple social media channels, and it's a product which I'm really excited about. I've got some great things, I think, in the pipeline, which hopefully will take it in a different direction and enable even more powerful calls to action that commercial sponsors might like.
Can you hint at any of those things at all?
Can't quite say it at this point, but
had to try.
Maybe by our Zilliqa Day 3 on July the 30th, we'll be able to update on this. And it would be great to work with you guys on a specific assessment of it, a specific use case, a case study, and analyze it with your depth of insight as well as our own, obviously, corporate objectives.
Yeah,
cool. As you guys think through, one real quick question. As you guys are kind of thinking through that next launch and potentially using influencers to kind of help you with that growth, I mean, how are you, and maybe Milan, you were doing this before, how are you sourcing some of these influencers? Is it people that you've kind of met before? Is like, how are you looking at some of these folks that you want to, help kind of grow, and the personality that you're looking for, the characteristics that you're looking for? Is there anything specific? It's like, hey, I'm not going to work with this trader. I'm going to work with this person that's more kind of just top line talking about crypto in general. What are the kind of ways that you guys assess that to bring people on?
Mostly there are a lot of influencers around, and we're observing a lot of them, what they do each on a day-to-day basis. So it's not like we jump on each influencer right away. We observe what they do, how they position themselves, and then we look at the synergy that could be possible. So, for example, one influencer would be Ivan on Tech, who we contacted for like a dev series a few months ago. And everybody knows Ivan on Tech for since 2017 maybe up to now, and it doesn't have to be that you contact him right away, but okay, this is kind of his edge, the kind of the developer audience, making that more accessible towards them. So then you'll try to find synergy there and come to a specific agreement. And for other influencers that are more, let's say, focused on marketing or just awareness, we also just look at more of a long-term partnership where we do one thing together, see how it goes, reflect on it, and see how they evolve and position themselves in the industry. And sometimes these influencers just spread awareness without us even asking, but just our incentives are aligned, right? Like for example, crypto Michael, the trader, I saw him on the list. This is somebody that just follows Zilliqa. I talked to him before, and some of our community members as well for interviews. But we didn't directly work together on anything. It's just our incentives are aligned, and they're interested in Zil. He likes what we're doing, and then it just happens by itself. And you can see that as well on YouTube and many other kind of social media platforms where other people get invested, get interested, and then create these network effects just happen where other influencers just kind of join the bandwagon and either contact us or don't contact us, but still are part of kind of the growth and awareness that we want to spread out inside the space.
That's great. Yeah. And I mean, we're kind of in that category a little bit, as in finding out, a little bit about you guys and tweeting stuff. And, we don't have any sort of, partnership or anything on paper. Like, we're just kind of out there helping the community together, which I think is great. And if there are people that you want to directly engage with and say, hey, this person seems like a long-term, influencer partner for us, how do you kind of set up the expectations in that partnership? So, are people giving you their Twitter analytics? Are you saying, if you hit this many, engagements, here's different kind of like levels that we can get you to? How do you kind of negotiate and pull that together?
Well, it doesn't have to be that strict. I think when sometimes they send like the history and then the kind of the past analytics just to showcase what they've done, what they're capable of. But mostly, once we try to work with somebody, we already know what they're capable of. So we already have a good intuition. We have spent a lot of time talking with a lot of different influencers. We kind of know the budget and what we're looking for. So in advance, we already have some kind of plan in mind, and it's mostly about them kind of finding kind of shared agreement quickly and understanding the shared objectives, where we can then do business together and kind of grow together. And
Gotcha.
Sometimes what happens as well is that so like recently we have people that were in our community that are becoming influencers because they're part of our community. So they're growing we're helping them grow their YouTube channels, their Twitters. They're doing a lot of marketing and becoming influencers by themselves. So they're now in the thousands of YouTube subscribers, thousands of Twitter followers, just as we just try to find these shared objectives and try to create synergies where everybody gets kind of these win-win situations as we evolve as well.
Cool. So you're kind of, by the time you're approaching them, you already kind of know. You're like, hey, I already know that this person is probably someone that I want to work with. It's just kind of hammering out some details about the campaign. Cool.
Yeah, usually awesome. I contact them as mostly. Then instead of them targeting us, I try to target them and just say, hey, I have a plan. And just straight to the point. And most influencers, either say yes, no quickly, and they understand it. So mostly when we get excited, we target them because it's if you use our hashtag or and you tag us different ways, you get on our radar. We're observing a lot, so it won't be that hard to notice you. And if you're doing good, then you can see synergy pretty well.
And do you pay them in Zill?
Yeah, that's what we want mostly. Yeah, a lot of people just want Zill, so that. I think I haven't, maybe once or twice, so almost everybody wants or payment, so they accept it.
Very cool.
What kind of expectations do you set on them when you hire someone? Is it for a campaign? Is it a long period of time? Are there any KPIs that you evaluate them by?
Well, it depends on kind of the objective. So they're very broad. We have tried to experiment with a lot of different things, like a lot of different kind of new things that we want to do, and most of these influencers maybe haven't thought of, like specific loyalty programs we're thinking about now, referral kind of structures with them, or just like a long-term step-by-step kind of engagement model. But it's very hard to kind of standardize that. It's just a bit based on their kind of experience, their own channel growth, their engagement. So every influencer have different USPs and they're positioned differently. So we're just trying to see like what's their edge. Can be very subtle. Who's following them, and what's their value, and what can we offer them as well, like financial, non-financial, and see how engaged they are after the event. What we see is that once we get in touch with an influencer, it seems that after the kind of the event or the agreement, they still are engaged, which is very interesting because, I mean, it just shows the kind of that they like to stick around and just be part, just observe, which we like, right? It's we understand we're doing a lot of different things, but yeah, we do want if influencers are listening, if you like to experiment, if you were just want to do something different and like to be part of a new project, interesting project, just contact us and see what we can do. We're always happy to work together and see what's possible with any of you.
It's a really exciting time for you guys. I mean, between social pay and all of these influencers, a lot of which are organic. I mean, we're on this list. We're organic. We have no relationship with you at all. We're just posting the data that we see. Just like many other projects, we just post what we see, and the community has engaged with what we posted about. And I think when I look through this list of the top influencers, I see that every single one of them has almost a different, unique edge with what they're posting, and I think that's maybe what resonates with individuals is like, knowing who you are and what you're true to. Don't just post a bunch of technical analysis when you're not a good trader. Post things that you're true to, that you understand, and I think when I look at all these individuals, that's exactly what they're doing. So it's pretty interesting. I do want to take a moment to explain, because I do have up on our screen our influencers list, and I do want to explain just how we calculate this, because we get this literally every day. Some think we're gaming this, some think we're biased. No, we're not. This is objective, algorithmically led influencer calculations. So what we do is there's really three main factors. There's engagement. So that means that when someone posts, how much engagement do they typically get on their posts? Are people commenting back? Are they retweeting? Are they liking? Are they doing lots of interaction with that consistently? Then we look at activity. So someone posting, they might have one really big post one day, and then they never post again. If they post once and they're out, they're likely not much of an influencer, and if they are, it's a very short period of time.
Unless it's J.K. Rowling.
Well, but even J.K. Rowling is a good example. She didn't rank in here as an influencer until she posted 2 or 3 times, and she did.
Yeah.
And so we see that a lot. And J.K. Rowling ended up being the biggest Ethereum influencer, which was crazy ever. So which she admittedly said she knew nothing about Ethereum. But her audience was so big. This goes back to broadening out who's seeing what you're posting. She has like 15 million followers or something. That's 15 million people that probably never even heard of Ethereum. So maybe a few got into it, but there was a lot of engagement. And crypto Twitter went nuts trying to explain to her what Ethereum was, after they failed at explaining what Bitcoin was to her the day before. So we've got engagement, we've got activity, and then we've got popularity. And so if you think of popularity, some people think that being an influencer is really just all about being popular. I have the most followers. Well, we look at it as your follower growth versus everyone else. So if I have 5,000 followers and then 6,000 and then 7,000 and then 10,000 and then 20,000, that looks strong. If I keep staying at 5,000, it's weak, or shrink, it's weak. So we look at all 3 of these metrics in real time over various time frames, and that's how we calculate our influencers. And so, and this does go back to, so on the 3-month level, Zilliqa was the most influential, and Crypto Guy UK was the second. Let's take a look at Crypto Guy UK. And so, we'll see that, Crypto Guy UK didn't just post about Zilliqa.
Background.
I know, isn't that amazing? It's beautiful.
Epic.
I like the cat jumping over the bed.
in the Tesla.
I think that's a Model S floating in outer space too. I believe it was the old Roadster. So he launched a new car apparently. But we can see that, you know, this is 19 to 28 posts a day the last few days. And we see that these are all the different coins that they're posting on. And so, you know, it's not just Zilliqa, but it looks like he's actually the, more than any other coin, he's most influential on Zilliqa, which explains why he's second right behind Zilliqa's own account. And so, you know, we look at all that frequency, and again, like, you take all these individuals, all of this, and these are just the top. This is like a leaderboard of sorts that you can segment based on time frame. But I'm going to go back to, I'll go back to this coin detail page, and this goes all back to, if I'm looking at this data on like a 6-month basis or something, and I see that there's 2,081 people, 1826, and I see that those people drove this many posts. It's really led by those influencers and on and on down the list. So I just wanted to take a moment to explain how we calculate influencers out for Zilliqa and for every coin.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say in that list, we're not actually paying anyone. It's an amazing community that we have. The guys with 50,000 followers and more who do tweet about Zill are doing it from their own interest, from their own passion, from their own excitement. My first ever interview was with CM Top Dog. He's on the list there. And in talking to him on his YouTube channel, I realized that this was a incredible opportunity for me to have an extended marketing arm in a way. And these channels become really important to us as long as we engage and offer some valuable input. Blockchain Andy is another one, and we have you know, Scott Zill Warrior there with a huge audience. These guys, they really are the 80-20 rule. I think you've put your finger on it there. You know, they're driving a lot of interest and a lot of engagement for us, which we probably couldn't do with our own official tweets.
Yeah, and it's good to note, I mean, even on their kind of detail page there, I mean, there's 20 different projects that they're talking about, and I think that was only like a 2-week or a 1-month period there. So it's, you know, you can, if you're out there and you're saying which influencer should I follow, and oh man, this guy is or girl is so influential over Zill, like, you know, they're just shilling Zill. You can now go in there and see they're not. They're talking about 20 other projects, and maybe they're ranking across those projects, and they're just overall interested in crypto. And maybe those 26 coins are the coins that you potentially should be looking at and saying, okay, why is this person that I see is so influential here? What else are they talking about? And do I trust some of the stuff that they're saying? And so it's an important place to look. And it's kind of part of the reason that we started LunarCRUSH, was to really democratize this data so people could really understand, you know, who's actually shilling one thing. I mean, if you see that large bubble 100% and it's just a ton of frequency, you know that maybe this person, you know, is a little bit biased on this one coin. They're not looking, and they're not, you know, doing their diligence on other things to kind of try to understand what's going on. And so it actually becomes a really important part of being an influencer to really look across the market and understand, you know, what all of these different projects are doing, and to be kind of go deep on some of them. I mean, you can't, you know, even being the CEO of an analytics firm in crypto, people always are asking me, oh, you know, how do you not know what this project's up to? And I'm like, I mean, there's 2,000 different projects out there. And I mean, if you look at like some of the traditional analysts on Wall Street with stocks, I mean, there are like multiple people dedicated to like just Bank of America, and that is the only stock that they look at, and they deep dive into that. So it's, you know, some of these influencers can't be across all the coins, but if they're even across 5 to 15, that's a really good number and something that you should respect.
I think one major point to make, and like I think you guys, it might have been Colin that said, you're not paying any of these individuals. This is organic. They just love what you're doing. It's critical. Because we do track so many coins, we see and we know when there's certain paid influencer campaigns going on and they last for a certain specific time frame and then they're done, you can see it. You can see it on the spikes, you can see it on the social activity, because when that campaign's done and they stop pumping a coin, a lot of times this is about pumping a coin and making the price go up. We see a lot of pump and dump type schemes going on. And you can see in some of our data that it's influencer driven, which is it's an unhealthy long-term pattern for any coin. So I think what you guys are doing and getting these individuals to organically love what you're doing and really advocate for you is enormous. It's huge.
It's awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, we've got just a couple minutes left here, but I really appreciate you guys kind of coming on and talking to us. I know it's super late over there, and we're just kind of getting started for the day. So this is the the crypto industry. If you're not on a live stream with people in at least 4 or 5 time zones, you're not doing it right. So I really appreciate it. If you guys just want to give a quick shout out where people can find you guys and what maybe to look forward over the next couple of weeks, go ahead, shout it out.
Well, I'm at Colin Miles, just my name, on Twitter. So I'd be very happy to reach 10,000 followers one day. That would make me the happiest man in crypto. When I joined the company, someone posted on YouTube, "How can this guy be head of marketing? He's only got 5,000 followers." And then within 4 months, we'd run a campaign such as Social Pay, where we drove 45 million impressions in 72 hours. And I think it's not really about the number of followers. It's about what you do with them. So
right.
Hopefully we've got the right plans to work with our communities across multiple channels. And I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. Yes, we will announce more things at Zil3. So I'm excited about that. And Milan's been helping every single day with the influencer analytics. So he knows that inside out. So I'll pass over to him. It's right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, you can contact me mostly on Twitter or Telegram. Proof of Milan on Twitter. On Telegram, you can just join our chat. I'm very easy to reach. You can just DM me, and if you want to work together, if you have a good idea, I'm always happy to listen. And we do have also a thing called Zilliqa. It's like an open source community initiative. So if you have your own marketing project or development project, or you want to be part of the ecosystem in some way, you can earn Zil and just do something that you like. And a lot of the marketing there has been happening recently. There's a TikTok challenge going on right now. With like a lot of different retweets, I think. It went a little bit viral. So always happy for. We like innovation and proactive behavior. So if you have good ideas, you want to work with us, you want to talk to us for anything, just reach out. And
Awesome, cool guys. Well, Thank you so much. It's been really fun, and we'll have to do it again. Thanks, everyone.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.